Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Good morning. Welcome to November 1st, 2007 meeting of the Board of Lorain County Commissioners. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sit down for me. Great sit. Sit down. Sit down. Good dog. Our featured pet this week is a 2 to 3 year old female lab. She was found on Murray Ridge Road, not far from our dog kennel. Great personality. She'll be available for adoption Saturday afternoon after 3, which means we can have her Tuesday for adoption. After that, she'll be participating in our new program with the APL and Dr. Woods. She'll be spayed, neutered, and sent to the APL for adoption. As General tells her to sit. There you go.
Oh, isn't she beautiful?
Let's go show them your face. Here, come here, show them your face. You're beautiful. Yeah. So please stop by and pick up a new friend.
Our program actually was on Channel 19 News last night. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see it. It was 11 before I got home.
Very good publicity for our dog kennel.
Congratulations.
Hopefully more will follow in the state. More people do programs like that to save more animals.
Well, we actually got 3 this week, went to the EPL with the new program, spay and neuter, inject home, maybe a couple more by the end of the week, so it's working. Our quote for the day first, then you can do that, okay?
Whatever you say, Mr. Chairman.
Well, with elections coming up, I kind of like this one. Those who stay away from the election think that one vote will do no good, but 'tis but one step more to think one vote will do no harm. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Thought you'd like that, Elizabeth. Madam Clerk?
We have a certificate for Sharon Haynes.
I saw Jerry Dull walk in with Sharon. We have a certificate for you, Sharon, recognizing your 30 years of service at Lorain County Golden Acres Nursing Home. Would you come up to the microphone, and I'll read this, and then I'll give it to you. Sharon began her career on August 18, 1977 in the laundry department and retired on October 31st. All her untiring efforts, dedication, and humanitarian kindness will be remembered by her fellow workers. The Lorain County Board of Commissioners expresses appreciation for the faithful, conscientious, and rewarding service given by you, and we wish you and your family the best of happiness, peace, and good health to be enjoyed throughout your retirement.
Well, thank you.
I'm at a loss. I've always said I have a love-hate relationship with Golden Acres. It's sort of like a marriage, you know? Some days I hate it, but most of the time I loved it.
You said very well. Thank you so much. Happy retirement.
Thank you, and I love Rachel. Oh my gosh, she's so nice. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jerry, did you want to say something?
As you all know, Sharon's been there for 30 years. Sharon's been in the laundry department. Some people think doing laundry is really a terrible thing. She enjoys her job. And coming over here, I said, you know what I like about the laundry department? I get no complaints about our laundry at Golden Acres. Our sheets are white, our pillowcases are white. we don't lose clothes. She runs a marvelous department, and she's going to be missed. And I really have enjoyed working with Sharon. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Jerry.
We're in a wonderful place out there.
Madam Clerk?
At 10 o'clock, we're going to have a annexation hearing for 9.9923 acres from New Russia Township to the City of Oberlin. Under Resolutions Number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
I'd just like to comment on one appropriation, Mr. Chairman, if I might, before you vote. And it's number 2 of 9. It's an additional appropriation to the Veteran Services Department. They sent us a thank you for $73,000 additional, and then asked for $50,000 more. We do have an opinion. If you want to give that to Teresa, we do have an opinion from the County Prosecutor's Office. It's listed under board correspondence this week that details how they should ask for additional funding. And I spoke to Lisa yesterday. They have about a little more than $700,000 was appropriated to them to begin with. They have spent almost $400,000 on assistance to veterans. And I just felt that they should come before us and just let us know what's going on in their department. And she tried to contact the head of their department yesterday, and he's on vacation. So if you want to approve it today, that's fine, but I would still like to hear from the gentleman.
Sure, I'd love to know what kind of services they're providing, what they're doing for the community for veterans.
I don't believe we've, and all the time I've been here, I don't believe we've ever had someone from the Veterans Service come and just tell us what's going on there, and I think it's incumbent upon us to know. We have a great relationship with the Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services, and periodically we see Mary Lou Golsky and we know what's going on. But I'm not questioning what they do, but I think that the public might also be interested in what's going on, especially if it's going to require more money in this year and in the future. So that would be my request.
Well, let's go ahead and approve it, and then we'll invite them to come speak and explain to us what they do for us.
Thank you.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
There are no advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Under the airport, instruct clerk to advertise for improvement and painting of the Lorain County Airport hangars. Notice to be published in the Chronicle Telegram on November 5th and 12th. Pre-bid meeting at airport on November 14th and open at 2 p.m. on November 26th in Commissioners' Public Hearing Room.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Twining?
I will ask for a brief executive session afterwards to talk about potential discipline of employees, and this is permissible under the Ohio Sunshine Law.
Thank you.
Authorize payment in the amount of $1,000 to Butler and Son Funeral Services for services rendered in connection with indigent veteran James Ray Hinkle in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 5901.26.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Blair.
Aye.
Under Community Development Department, award various contracts to homeowners to receive grant assistance from CDBG FY06 home repair activity, which includes 10% contingency for any unforeseen change orders, and there were 4 quotes received on each, this being the most responsive complying with specifications. One is Erie Coast Construction Vermillion in the amount of $2,954 for Shauna L. Siren Puhala at 530 Church Street, Amherst for a roof replacement. 2, Erie Coast Construction Vermillion in the amount of $5,170 for Dolly Donovan at 5423 Barkwood Drive, Sheffield for a roof. The Burge Building Company, Lorain, in the amount of $4,710.38 for Dick and Frederica Vanderden at 131 Curtis Drive, Avon Lake for a roof replacement. And J.A. Kilby Enterprises, Wellington, in the amount of $6,765 for Mary McCoy at 11600 Indian Hollow Road for a roof replacement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Twining, I'd like to hold number 2 and 3 until you can prove to me that these people, this is based on need. This number 2, the house is 2,400 or 2,482 square feet with a value of $162,100. The third one is valued at $165,000. They look like very nice houses. I can't imagine a house like that. These people, this is based on need, low income, correct?
Correct. Owner occupied.
Owner
low income.
occupied. Tell me how somebody in need can afford a $162,000 house at 2,482 square feet.
Mr. Ulick is here. I don't know whether he's prepared or has any answers.
Commissioners, I don't have any answers as to the value of the house, but it's based on the income of the occupants, and they did meet the low to moderate income guidelines that are published by HUD.
Is that all we look at, is just the income? We don't look at, I mean, if they had a low income and they lived in $1 million house, would we still replace their roof for free?
That meets the guidelines, but if the commissioners are so inclined to approve 1 and 4 and hold 2 and 3, we can do that and try to gather additional information.
Yeah, I'd like more information before I say yes to 2 and 3, but I have no problem with 1 and 4.
I have no problem holding them, but Bill, can you get that information so we can see it by the end
Sure.
of the meeting with the income? I mean, a lot of this stuff, people own a house for $160,000, but they may be retired in low income, so I mean,
Right.
it's a way for seniors to keep up improvements on their
Right.
home, so I'd like to see what that is also.
And they may only have no payments or
Right.
1 or 2 payments before the end of their mortgage, but
I also look at the transfers when I look at these, and they flip-flop, not these particular ones, but sometimes these houses transfer flip-flopping between owners. The same owner gets it back and forth. You know, I just want to make sure that we're not getting pulled a fast one on us, that's all.
Nothing wrong with due diligence,
Right.
Commissioner. But can we have that by the end of the meeting?
Okay.
Thank you. Can we just hold all of it till the end of the meeting?
That's fine.
And by the time we get the break, let's approve it all instead of
You
changing
want
it.
to withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw my motion.
I'll withdraw the second.
Thank you.
Approving an appropriation of $112,860 and authorize payment to Ohio Water Development Authority for a prepayment of a coastal erosion loan with Crystal Cove Condominiums, Inc.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Job and Family, approve and enter into various lease agreements effective retroactive to July 1st, 2007 through June 30th, 2008 for space at 42485 North Ridge Road, Elaria. Job and Families is 59,320 square feet, annual payment of $391,512. Child Support, 16,375 square feet, annual payment of $110,571.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Workforce Investment, approve and enter a lease agreement with WDA for 3,113 square feet of finished office space at 42495 North Ridge Road, Elaria, at a total cost of $15,666, effective retroactive July 1st, 2007 through June 30th, 2008.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Approve and enter a lease agreement with Workforce Institute of Lorain County for 6,843 square feet of finished office space at 42495 North Ridge Road, Elaria, at a total cost of $26,389.92, effective retroactive July 1st, 2007 through June 30, 2008.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Under Domestic Relations, approved Domestic Relations request to Juvenile Accountability Block Grant in the amount of $20,914 for the continuation of the Merit Project 2, which holds youth accountable by providing community service opportunities in an effort to make restitution to victims while in public school attendance and addresses the truancy issues. Cash match is $2,324 is being requested by the County General Fund.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Yeah, just a comment is, again, here's a cash match from the county general fund for us to access $20,000. So, I mean, that's where we talk about where we need the additional funds. This is just a small one, but over the year, professional matches that we do to bring in more dollars are very important. So, just a comment.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Drug Task Force, and this is going to say Northern Border Initiative. Authorize a new fund, 3610 Northern Border Initiative, as a reimbursement to various Marine and road patrols, as well as promoting community awareness, and revenue received through the end of '07 will be approximately $64,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under the engineer, accept on behalf of Brown Hill Township the improvements at Greystone Point subdivision. Greg Abraham is the developer and enter into one-year maintenance guarantee. Storm sewers and concrete were installed. Authorize a refund in the amount of $1,614.45 for overpaid inspection fees and record the plat as Greystone Drive with road number T294 commences at Middle Ridge and extends north a distance of 1,112.7 feet, then west 1,669.93 feet, then south 781.6 feet, and finally east 1,694.31 feet for a total of 5,258 feet or .996 miles in length, forming a loop. Greystone Circle with road T295 commences at Greystone Drive north side and extends north a distance of 380 feet or .072 miles in length and ending at a cul-de-sac.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Accept on behalf of Carlisle Township the improvements of Carrington Point Estate subdivision. Darrell Norris is the developer and entered a one-year maintenance guarantee. Storm sewers and concrete were installed July 2005 and the recorded plat as volume 87, page 24 for Carrington Drive with road T292 commences at Banks Road and then extends north and northwest a distance of 1,586.18 feet or .300 miles in length, ending at a future phase property line. And Alexis Drive with road T293 commences at Carrington Drive and then extends northeast and east a distance of 1,058.89 feet or .201 miles in length, extending at the westerly property line of Kenneth and Linda Diedrich.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Twining, Assistant County Assistant.
Again, I want to remind the Commissioners I'm asking for a brief executive session following this meeting. And the only other thing that I want to do is remind people that Tuesday is an election day. The Board of Elections under the Board of County Commissioners are prepared for a outstanding election day. Again, we hope. So we want to encourage all eligible voters to participate in their right to cast a ballot on November 6th.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor.
Commissioners, we do need to have an executive session. Mr. Saracen would like to address with the board a matter of pending litigation, which also has some personnel implications.
Commissioners report.
No report this morning.
I have several items I'd like to mention. First, Commissioners, Virginia Haynes from our Community Development Department attended the come up, please, Virginia. She attended the Farm Service Agency hearing on our behalf because we were involved with the summit that day, and I thought you might like, we all might like to hear what Virginia had to report to us about the hearing. Thank you, Virginia.
Thank you. Good morning. Let's see. I was his first speaker, which was very good. Because you have their attention by then. Mm-hmm. Okay. All the commissioners, I pointed out that all the commissioners would have been there except for the fact that they were hosting the summit, of which that board recognized that there was a conflict in scheduling. I also read the letter from the commissioners into the record, and that letter was opposing the closing of the office, and then I presented them with the copy. I also explained that I felt confident that the commissioners would be open-minded to discussion on keeping the office in Lorain County. I explained that this is the first time that Community Development and myself had heard of the closing, and that agriculture is a second economic development generator for Lorain County, and I respectfully requested them to email to the department their reasons for closing. Okay. There were no questions posed to me, other than, like I said, they acknowledged they knew of the scheduling conflict. There were a lot of great questions posed by the farmers and the community, and towards the end it was concluded with Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur. She concluded with the meeting. In essence, she stated that Washington would cut all funds to the office if they decided to move to Medina County.
Did she?
Yes.
Good.
So I think they're going to have a little issue with that. So.
That's good.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Virginia.
Virginia, did they ask whether or not we would be willing to add on additional space there? Should Medina and Lorain County combine, and it's here in Lorain County? Did they ask us to, no?
No, they didn't pose any questions to me. And really in the beginning, what they were talking about was they needed that the decision is made by 2 county committees, and that the office needs to be more efficient and effective. They said nothing about space.
Okay, because I talked to a few people, and that was one of the issues, that they wanted to make sure that the commissioners would be on board with adding on additional office space over there if they do combine, and it is here in Lorain County, which it
Right.
makes sense for it to be here in Lorain County. Lorain County's agriculture is probably twice as much as Medina, so.
Definitely.
Four times? Oh,
And I did tell them that they would be doing a disservice
absolutely.
to the farmers in Lorain County
Okay.
if they pulled out.
Well, thank you for attending that for us.
Sure,
It was
thank you.
very important to all of us.
I was very honored to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Virginia. Virginia alluded to the Alliance, and I'd like to report that there were close to 100 people in attendance to hear Lieutenant Governor Lee Fisher, who is also the head of the Ohio Department of Development, and also 13th District Congressional Representative Betty Sutton. I want to get out the fact that she was a woman. We're not doing too bad with our congresswomen, are we? And the third speaker was Ken Prendergast, who is representing Albert, Ohio, and gave a nice presentation on the update of the commuter rail project that we've been working on for several years. Anyway, it was a very nice summit. We have received many comments, mostly that it was probably the best summit so far, and we've had some very good ones in the past. So I was very pleased by all the efforts that were put forth by the county personnel on our behalf. The tape, Hal put a tape together. It is 1 hour and 50 minutes. It can be viewed Thursday, November the 1st, that's today, at 5:30. It will run again Friday the 2nd at 2:30, and Sunday the 4th at 6 p.m. We also have a tape available for like a library lending out. If anyone wants it, we've received a request from one of the businesses to show it to their firm, so we'll make that available to them too. So if anybody wants to do that, we'd be happy to make that available to them. I have an item for the executive session to discuss the possible purchase and or sale of county-owned land. I would like to add that to Jerry and Ron's list. And then I would like to ask Jerry, I gave you a folder with a suggested letter in it. Is that sufficient for our purposes? Have you had a chance to look at it? If so, I would like to offer it for signature.
I think it's appropriate, Commissioner.
Okay. I have prepared a letter to NOACA. It says, request for an amendment to Code of Regulations per Article 9, page 17. It says the Lorain County Board of Commissioners hereby requests that NOACA's Code of Regulations, as it relates to Article 4, be amended to do away with the weighted voting provision. We understand that this request must be approved by majority vote of each of the 5 boards of commissioners in NOACA's jurisdiction. Please facilitate the necessary paperwork in distributing this request on our behalf, and there's space for signature of each of the commissioners if in fact this meets with your pleasure.
Or we will consider leaving NOACA.
Well, we didn't bother to add that. I think
Well, you
that
asked for an opinion, that's right. I'm giving you my opinion if it meets the needs of the commissioners.
if the letter prepared meets the provisions of the commissioners, I think that our opinion is quite well known, and
No, I always like it in writing, Commissioner. That's how they ask us to do it. It's sort of like that tax revenue sharing they put on paper.
Hopefully they won't use a weighted vote on this amendment.
they might, and in which case then we'll go to Plan B. So if you have
Exit
no...
stage right?
Pardon me?
Exit stage right
Or left.
or stage left?
Okay. So if you don't have any problem with it, I'll move that we approve this letter for signature and sending.
I'll second that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Do we need to vote on that?
No, I don't
I think so.
We do?
Okay, Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
And then you sign it and give one to Teresa. Thank you. That concludes my remarks.
But I want to just add a little bit of what happened at the summit Friday. First of all, do you remember why the elephant sat on the marshmallow?
Because he said he didn't want to spill his hot chocolate.
Something like that. But anyway, yeah, he didn't want to fall in the hot chocolate. But I'll tell you what, Lee Strickland and Betty Sutton, I don't
Lee
think...
Fisher.
What'd
Lee
I say?
Fisher.
What'd I
Lee
say?
Strickland.
Well, it's a combination.
Same. they talked a lot about the Ford Motor Plant and that they are on top of things. They're in constant dialogue with those people in Michigan that make those decisions, and they already have a package put together to try to keep Ford here in Lorain County. So they are definitely on top of things, and I was really appreciative to hear that.
That it? Okay, thanks, Commissioner.
Now you can talk.
Now my turn, okay, yeah. The Alliance is very nice. Actually, exciting news in Lorain County today. I spoke about Avon Bearings and meeting with them with the alternative wind energy, previously with Bill Ulick, people from WireNet, the Cleveland Foundations, and Mike Challenger from Lorain County Growth Corporation, who's really involved in the sustainability issue, alternative energies. Avon Bearings was sold this morning for a $55 million cash deal to Kadant Corporation out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Kadant Corporation is a leading designer and manufacturer of custom-engineered performance-critical products, supplying a broad and diverse group of industrial, aerospace, medical, and electronic equipment, alternative energy, and aftermarket customers. So, as we were talking to the gentleman about expanding his business, it looks like he did. He sold it out for $55 million, so congratulations to the owners of Avon Bearings. But Bill, could you get a letter out to these guys? I've got a bunch of information I had my assistant pull down. If you can get a letter out to them, if there's anything we can do to help them with expansion or any other concerns they have, very important. I mean, that's very big. As we spoke about the alternative wind energy and the foundries and manufacturing capabilities in the state of Ohio, they say in a 10-year time span at this point, with the proper legislation, which we're working on at the state of Ohio, our renewable portfolio legislation, could create up to 23,000 jobs in the state of Ohio alone. So it's very important. I think contacting Kadant Corp is very important. So if you can get that done ASAP, Bill, I'd appreciate it. Also, good luck to everyone who's running on Tuesday. Elections are always a great time of the year. I kind of consider it like the Monday night's Christmas Eve and Tuesday's Christmas Day, because you don't open your presents, see who you got then. But good luck to everybody. Appreciate your vote for the sales tax. Thank you, Chronicle, for endorsing us. I wish the other major media would have taken the same hits and given us time to explain after the independent audit. But in that case, we're hoping everyone supports it. We'd like to continue county operations. We have some major safety issues, as we've all spoke about. So appreciate your support on Tuesday, and good luck to all the candidates. Madam Clerk?
I have two things. One is the JED was received from Eaton Township, City of North Ridgeville for location of Archer Boulevard and Chestnut Ridge Road. Board has to make a decision within 30 days or it does become effective. And number two, Commissioners will meet Tuesday, November 20th at 9:30 due to Thanksgiving on Thursday and the county offices being closed.
Don't forget to turn back your clocks this Saturday night also, correct?
Correct.
I thought I read that somewhere.
Board correspondence?
Move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Public comment?
Anyone wishing to speak before the board?
Good morning, Commissioners. David Ashenhurst, Oberlin. I have just two things. One concerning the Community Alliance. I, too, thought it was very good. I don't know that it was the best, because I think they're all pretty good. But I do hope that further airings of the summit can be arranged, because, for one thing, if the 3 times are all before the 4th of November, I think some people may be busy with other things, like elections, and it'd be nice. And the second time this announcement is made is going to be the 5th of November, so, isn't that right? That this will be aired. Yeah, so all of these airings are going to take place before the second airing of this meeting, so I hope there's some later, maybe in November or something like that. And the other thing is to just ask if at some point we could get just a little explanation of why the square footages under 14, 15, and 16 for the different agencies, why the property goes or the space goes at rates of $4, $5, $6, and $8.
I can answer that, because I asked the same question.
Great.
It depends on the type of finish that is in. It says finished square footage. So the amenities that are in there
well, and
makes the square footage more valuable.
And I understood certainly how that could happen, but it just looks like the Workforce Institute has really lousy space compared to...
Well, they don't need as many amenities as Job and Family Services need, because they don't provide as many services. So it says finished square footage. I asked the same question, Dave.
Okay.
Because normally square footage is based
Okay.
on empty.
So,
We do it as a finished with Maximus figuring
so
the square footage.
if you have an auditorium, that's not going to take much, but the square footage that includes a bunch of desks and a bunch of other things
Right.
is more. Okay.
Okay.
Just
I did ask that question, though.
Shirley R. Johnson, Oberlin. I want to call your attention to an editorial in last Sunday's New York Times called "The Right Model for Juvenile Justice." I know this is something that you cannot initiate, but I think it's something we should all be mindful of. It talks first about the fact that prisons are filled to bursting, and that part of the problem is because of the juvenile justice system, which is doing a frighteningly effective job of turning nonviolent childhood offenders into mature, hardened criminals. Then, after explaining how that came about, it goes into the area of the fact that all justice systems are not created equal, and that the state of Missouri is apparently the only state in the country, and I didn't know this, that has abandoned the usual juvenile justice systems in favor of small community-based centers that stress therapy, not punishment. And it goes on to explain all the ways in which they have done that, and ends up saying that a law and order state, Missouri was working against its own nature when it embarked on this project about 25 years ago. I don't know why we haven't heard about it since before this. But with favorable data piling up and thousands of young lives saved, the state is now showing the way out of the juvenile justice crisis. So I hope people will look more into this, and that we will try to do something about it in our state so we can do better in our own local communities.
Thank you. Before we start the public, can we get Bill Ulick up here? He has some information on item number 12, the CDBG dollars going to fixing up houses. Commissioner Kowski had concerns with 2 of the 4.
Yeah, I pulled the files for both of these. Both of these, under the Emergency Home Repair Program, are senior citizens that are retired. Their income is at considered very low income by HUD criteria. It's well below the 50% of the median income.
So we've been able to help them maintain their home, even though their income is low through this program, correct?
Correct. It's it does not consider the value of the home. It's their annual income.
And it helps keep up a home in a neighborhood.
Correct.
Did I answer your questions, Commissioner?
Yeah, the HUD guidelines does not call for caring what the price of the home is.
No.
Not at all. It's just the opposite. They are there to make sure that the house is kept in a reasonable, maintained condition so it doesn't deteriorate. And obviously, as these people got into retirement, they could not afford to do all of the upkeep that they need. Now, maybe they need to downsize, but that's a personal choice. HUD doesn't get into that, so it is an eligible activity.
And I think, Commissioner, it's better to put $5,000 or $6,000 in a house worth $160,000 or $180,000 instead of throwing $5,000 at a house worth $40,000. So I think in the end result, you end up with a better home overall and a better neighborhood.
Yeah, and you do have requirements. We can't do, on the private owner rehab, we can't do more work than, I believe it's half of the value of the structure itself. So if a structure needs $30,000 worth of work, but it's only a $50,000 structure, we're prohibited from that, from the opposite. But to my knowledge, there's no ceiling amount on it. It's, are you a owner occupant, and you have to occupy the structure, and then what your income is, and we provide assistance based on their income. Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
And also, while you're changing your clocks, change your batteries in your smoke detector.
Thank you very much. Good
Thank you,
idea.
Bill.
Time for the public hearing on the annexation.
Mr. Ennis, could you swear in anyone who's going to be
I
testifying?
think they need to set up, because they got a court reporter and everything.
Oh, they need to set up?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll give you guys a few minutes to set up.
I believe.
Did you bring a court reporter today?
Attorney John Keyswalker.
Okay. John, come on up.
Public hearing on the proposed annexation of approximately 9.9923 acres in New Russia Townships to the City of Overland. Attorney John Keys Walker is the agent. Petition and map were filed in the Board of Commissioners received by the clerk on August 30, 2007 for proposed regular annexation of approximately 9.9923 acres in New Russia Townships, City of Overland. For the petitioner, Kendall at Overland, Barbara W. Thomas, CEO. Letters were issued on August 30th to Mark Stewart, Lorain County Auditor, and Ken Carney, Lorain County Engineer, for review and accuracy. September 5th, certificate of filing from County Auditor was received on the proposed annexation. September 6th, County Auditor, upon review of annexation, came across a discrepancy in acres listed at 7.250, a difference of 2.74 acres, notified the agent. September 13th, a certificate of filing from the County Auditor on Resolution 07646 to receive and journalize. September 24th, receive affidavit from Agent Keys Walker notifying owners and proof of service, notifying the clerks of New Russia Township in the City of Overland. September 25th, received letter from County Engineer after review, and Kendall Overland was not the sole owner of the property to be annexed at the time the petition was filed. Parcel 090006600050 was owned by Ronald Zabanowski, but has since then transferred to Kendall of Overland. The legal description does accurately describe the area to be annexed. Map shows 9.9923 acres to be 2 parcels. However, it should be 3 parcels. And the parcels are adjacent and contiguous to the city, and notify the agent. October 4th, City of Overland Ordinance 0780 ACCMS indicates what services will be provided, and notified the agent. October 10th, received affidavit Attorney John Keys Walker relating to the notice of publication in the Chronicle Telegram on October 3rd. And October 23rd, received a deposit from Agent Keys Walker for the court reporter, and clerk upon Kathleen Hopkins, Leary, to be present.
Mr. Ennis?
Thank you, Commissioner. This is a regular annexation procedure pursuant to Section 709033 of the revised code. That being the case, it's what we call an administrative proceeding, but it is also what is defined as a quasi-judicial proceeding, which means even though you aren't judges and it's not a formal courtroom, it proceeds pretty much in accordance with a trial procedure. There are attorneys there are parties, there are attorneys. Each of the attorneys, the parties have an opportunity to call witnesses. They may be cross-examined by the other parties, and it proceeds according to that manner. There are 3 parties in this particular matter. Kendall, which is the petitioner, and Attorney John Keys Walker, you're here on behalf of Kendall, is that correct?
That is correct.
The City of Oberlin, where the annexation is being sought to go into, and I believe Attorney Eric Sievers is here for the City of Oberlin.
That's correct.
And the third party is the Township of New Russia, from which the property is being sought to be annexed. I believe I saw Attorney Stephen Bond running around here. Stephen, are you representing New Russia?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So we have 3 parties, and we have, excuse me, 3 attorneys. During the course of the week, I contacted the various parties, and there may be a preliminary issue that we may want to address. I had an indication from New Russia that they were going to be perhaps seeking a continuance of this matter. I don't know if the parties have discussed that, John, or?
We discussed it briefly before the hearing here today. We were not aware that New Russia was represented until today.
Right.
And there was not a consent or an agreement to the continuance.
Okay. Is Mr. Bond, is there a request being made in that regard?
No.
No. Okay. Well, then we're ready to proceed. With that in mind, let's have everybody who is going to testify stand and be sworn, even if you think you might. Do each of you swear or affirm that the testimonies you shall give shall be the truth, as you shall answer unto God or under penalty of the law of perjury?
I do.
With that, I'll allow we kind of proceed with like opening statements initially, Mr. Keys Walker, so if you want to proceed on behalf of the petitioner.
Thank you. My name is John Keys Walker. I'm one of the agents for the petitioner in this matter, Kendall at Oberlin. We're seeking the annexation of 9.9923 acres from New Russia Township to the city of Oberlin. The property is located on the east side of Route 58. I'm not sure the commissioners can see the map, but the property is bounded on the north by the city of Oberlin, on the east side by the city of Oberlin, and there is actually city of Oberlin territory a short distance away from the south side of the property. The boundary with New Russia Township is primarily on the west side of the property. The longest side of the parcel, approximately 805 feet, is adjacent and contiguous to the city, in addition to the contact areas to the north. The total area adjacent and contiguous to the city is a little over 1,600 feet. The testimony and the evidence today will show that the petition meets the requirements of 709.02. The petition signer is the owner of the real estate in the territory proposed to be annexed. The petition had valid signatures of the majority of the owners, and indeed there has been no challenge to the validity of the signature or the petition as permitted 15 days before the hearing under 709.031. The evidence will also show that the municipality, the city of Oberlin, has complied with the statutory requirement for the adoption of an ordinance stating what services it will make available to the territory proposed to be annexed, and those will be fire, police, electric, water, sewer, and garbage service. And the ordinance also states when those services will be made available 30 days after the completion of the annexation process. The evidence will show that the territory proposed to be annexed is not unreasonably large, being under 10 acres. And on balance, the general good of the territory proposed to be annexed will be served, and the benefits to the territory and to the surrounding area will outweigh any detriments to the territory and the surrounding area arising from the annexation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Seaver, incidentally, if the parties prefer to move up closer, you're more than welcome to do that. Mr. Severs, do you wish to make an opening statement on behalf of the city overall? You have to come up here, one of the other microphones.
I mean, he can go to that one, too.
Is this one over here? This is not really in the nature of an opening, other than I wanted to first of all introduce you to Eric Norenberg, who's the new city manager, who's here today. Eric, if you would stand up. He's not going to testify today. It's kind of unfair, I think, for him to have to do that. He's only been on the job for about a week, but I wanted you to meet him.
Welcome to Lorain County, Eric.
Welcome to Lorain County, yeah. There has been some indication, I think, that New Russia Township would like to negotiate with the Oberlin and with the city of Oberlin an agreement that is similar to what the city has with Pittsfield Township. And although I can't speak for my city council, I do believe that city council would favorably accept such a proposal and would have no objection to sitting down with New Russia Township to attempt to negotiate such an agreement. However, as you probably realize, negotiations like that can take a long time. It took over 2 years with the negotiations between the city and Pittsfield Township. So having said that, I think the council would agree to negotiate with New Russia Township on such an agreement. I do not want those type of negotiations to be a part of this request for annexation. I think that's unfair to the city and Kendall. I'm sure the evidence is going to show that they want to proceed immediately. So that's about all I can say about that. But I have received no indication from City Council that they would be adverse to discussing such an annexation agreement with New Russia for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. Steve, on behalf of New Russia Township.
Excuse me, before you get started, you did not stand to be sworn in at the time when Jerry
Right.
swore, so he doesn't have to be sworn?
Not if he's not going to actually testify. Sometimes counsel for the petitioner actually makes a presentation of evidence that certain things have been filed, so because of that, he does need to be sworn in. But if Mr. Bond is just simply here as counsel and is not going to testify, he doesn't have to be sworn.
Okay, thank you.
Uh,
Not a judge, didn't know that.
I think judges sometimes say what the lawyers say is not evidence, even though we think it is. Thank you very much. I'm here this morning on behalf of the township. The township does object to this proposal. As evidence of their objection, all three of the trustees have taken time out of their schedule to personally appear here to demonstrate how strongly they feel about this. From a technical perspective, I think that you'll be able to see there already is existing more or less an island of township that's created by the configuration of the property over there. Our position is that this annexation just dramatizes that island relationship and leaves just a few parcels there surrounded by city. So to that extent, we find it objectionable. We also think this is a segmentation of the property and it's not good planning. But in particular, we would direct your attention to a court decision called In Re Annexation of 343.2255 acres out of the 12th District in 1995, 106 Ohio Appellate 3rd 512. And in that decision, the court said the court should also consider services available to the territory before annexation. There is no way to decide whether an annexing municipality can provide an adequate level of service without some basis or standard for comparison. The point being that from the township's perspective, we feel that this application is somewhat premature in that there was no attempt to develop this property by applying to the township or formally requesting what services the township could provide. And there's no indication whether or not the township, through negotiation or whatever means, could provide the same services that are being sought through this annexation. As Mr. Sievers indicated, the township is interested in working out some kind of a long-term arrangement with the city, possibly something analogous to what was done with Pittsfield. But nobody came forward to try to make that kind of presentation to the township. So maybe this is a question of a chicken and the egg, or who has to come forward first and make this application. But since the property owner is the one that's kind of instigating all this, the township's view is that they should have had some burden to come forward and instigate some kind of negotiations to resolve this matter before it came to this point. Since there was no attempt ever made, since the township never had any opportunity to formally respond as to what it could or could not provide in the way of services, we don't know that the commission can necessarily make an assessment as to whether or not the property is going to be better served under the annexation than it already would be under the current township. And for that reason, we don't think that you're going to be able to find that the standard has been met. And on that basis, we're going to ask you to deny the annexation. Thank you.
Steve, offhand, do you know what year that case was?
1995.
Thanks.
Mr. Bond, what are the services that Oberlin could provide?
Laura, we probably need to wait until we get into the evidentiary part of that.
Oh.
So. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, the first thing we have to do is consider the number of signatures. As Mr. Keys Walker indicated, there was no challenge filed regarding the signatures. Is there anybody here who signed this petition that seeks to withdraw it? Mr. Bond, do you have any objection or anything pertaining to the signatures on the petition?
No signature problems.
Okay. Then I'll let you go ahead and proceed with your case, Mr. Keyswalker.
Thank you. And we will call Barbara Thomas from Kendall at Oberlin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I appreciate the chance to be here this morning.
And we're going to have to do this kind of as a question and answer. By the way, do you have the booklet with you that I gave? All right. Very good. And if you would leave that at the podium when you complete your testimony.
Sure.
We are pretty liberal here, John, so I mean,
Okay.
we do allow leading, and we do
Right. I understand.
that sort of thing.
I understand. And let's begin with your name and address for the record.
I'm Barbara Thomas. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Kendall at Oberlin, and the Kendall at Oberlin address is 600 Kendall Drive.
And I'd like for you to refer to tab 1 of the booklet that you have in front of you. And ask you if that is your signature on page 2 of tab 1.
Yes, it is.
And it's at the petition for annexation that's before the commissioners here today.
Yes, it is.
Your signature was on behalf of Kendall at Oberlin.
Yes, it was.
Kendall at Oberlin is an Ohio corporation, not-for-profit.
Yes, it is.
And you were authorized by the board of Kendall to go ahead and sign this petition?
Yes, I was.
All right. The date below your signature is August 23, 2007. Is that the date the petition was signed on behalf of Kendall at Oberlin?
Yes, it was.
All right. Yeah, is Kendall at Oberlin the owner of the 9.9923 acres proposed to be annexed?
Yes, it is.
Kendall, the majority of the owners of the territory proposed to be annexed?
Yes, it is.
All right. The petition was filed with the clerk of the board of the Lorain County Commissioners. Is all the territory proposed to be annexed located in Lorain County?
Yes, it is.
No signature on the petition occurred more than 180 days before the petition was filed?
No.
All right. And does the petition contain an accurate legal description of the property and the map of the territory proposed?
Yes, it has, and it has been confirmed by Lorain County as well.
All right. And does the petition designate myself and Attorney Stephanie Mercado in my office as agents for the petitioner?
Yes, it does.
All right. At the time of the filing, was there also filed a list of all the parcels and the owners of the territory proposed to be annexed?
Yes.
And if we turn to the last page under tab 1, is that the list that was filed with the commission? Clerk.
Yes, it is.
And at the time of filing, was there also filed a list of all parcels, names, and addresses of owners adjacent to and directly across the street from the territory proposed to be annexed?
Yes.
And were there steps taken to provide notice to the clerks of council of Oberlin and New Russia Township?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to turn to tab 2 and ask if that is a copy of the notice that was submitted on behalf of Kendall.
Yes, it is.
All right. And I'm going to ask you to turn to tab 3 and confirm for the commissioners that the agent affidavit, that is tab 3, confirmed the notice to the adjacent landowners and those across the street, and also to the territory, the owners of the territory proposed to be annexed.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you to turn to tab 4 and confirm to the commissioners that tab 4 is the affidavit of agent and the notice by publication that was provided in a newspaper of general circulation in Lorain County, the Chronicle Telegraph.
Yes.
Okay. And finally, if you would turn to tab 5, and I will ask you, to your knowledge, if this is the ordinance that the city of Oberlin enacted and filed with the Clerk of Commissioners outlining the services Oberlin would provide to the territory proposed to be annexed.
Yes, it is.
And that bears the filing stamp of the Commissioner's Clerk on October 4, 2007, more than 20 days before the hearing, correct?
Yes, correct.
now that we've gotten through those technical matters, let's talk about this annexation a little bit. First of all, let's talk about the size and the location of the property. And we have a map hanging here that, does that accurately depict the location of the property and its size?
Yes, it is.
There it is.
I can see it almost easier.
All right. And if you would explain to the board what the area highlighted in blue on the map is that...
That's the existing 92 acres that Kendall resides on for our retirement community.
and that's not the full 92, but that's a part of it.
Correct. It's not totally visible, but that's that portion of the property that is joint.
And is that located within the city of Oberlin?
Yes, it is, all within Oberlin.
And the yellow area on the map, what does that indicate?
The yellow is the just under 10 acres that we hope to annex into Oberlin.
Right. And the red or pink highlighted area?
Those are existing properties, right next to the property we hope to see annexed. Some of it.
Those are in Russia Township?
Correct. Those are all in New Russia Township.
All right. So this property borders the city on two sides, the north and the east?
Correct.
Is there any isolated peninsula or other unusual shape that creates a problem?
No.
Concerning the annexation? Does this property have anything about its size and shape which impairs Oberlin from providing the services that it's indicated that it would provide to the territory?
No. In fact, our discussions have affirmed that we're doing this cooperatively so that it will meet their expectations as well.
All right. If they're providing those services, those would be provided along Route 58?
Correct. We have
also through the city territory?
Correct, because our property, our entranceway really isn't on 58, nor will it be in the new project.
Okay. Where is your entranceway?
Our entrance is actually right at North Pleasant and Maple, where it comes together. It's an entrance. It's a double kind of boulevard as you enter and then becomes single drives. It's a safe entrance for older adults and works very well.
And would that be the access to the property in the territory that's proposed to be annexed as well?
Yes, it would be.
Would you plan on running streets through to that territory to link into streets currently in the city of Oberlin?
We would not need to have any additional streets except into the new development of residential.
But there would be some driving access, maybe not a formally dedicated.
Absolutely. Same kind of driveways we have today.
Okay. And those, again, would run through to the city of Oberlin.
Correct.
As to any remaining unannexed territory in the new Russia Township, will a sufficient amount remain to provide a tax base for the township to support itself?
Absolutely.
You're not taking away
less than 10 acres
out of a total of 24 square miles of new Russia Township?
Yes.
All right. And is any street or highway segmented or divided so as to create a road maintenance problem here?
No.
In fact, the territory, even though it abuts Route 58, the annexation will not actually take in any portion of Route 58. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Would you explain to the Board of Commissioners how the general good of the territory proposed to be annexed in the petition will be served if the petition is granted?
Well, basically, by the ability for us to expand our community, currently serving just over 300 residents. We are 14 years old, and basically when we opened Kendall, we knew we were on the small size to really be an efficient community. This will allow us in our expansion to bring it closer to the size of Optimum, which was initially expected to be about 250 units. We don't expect to grow that big at Kendall at Oberlin, but this will bring us up to be more efficient.
And will there be services of the city that will work to the general good of the territory?
Absolutely. Everything from fire to police protection and sewers. Most important to us.
And will the value of the territory proposed to be annexed be increased if the petition is granted?
Yes, and we often find when communities like Kendall, of which we have another 12 in the nonprofit Kendall system, do have growth. They actually do enhance surrounding areas. And we knew that from the very earliest days of Kendall at Oberlin, that we could be assured of that. And we believe that's happened in the area surrounding Kendall at Oberlin in its 14 years.
And by the way, the current territory of Kendall at Oberlin, was that annexed territory from Russia Township?
Yes, it was. So we wouldn't be in Oberlin if that had not taken place.
On balance, will the benefits to the territory proposed to be annexed and the surrounding area outweigh the detriments to those territories?
No.
I'm sorry?
Repeat the question.
Yeah.
Maybe I
Please do.
I think I said that wrong.
That was not the answer I was hoping for.
Repeat that question. Repeat that question.
I'll try it again.
I'll listen more carefully.
On balance, excuse me, will the benefits to the territory proposed to be annexed and the surrounding area outweigh the detriments?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, you've already spoken about the benefits to the territory proposed to be annexed. Will there be any detriments that you can see to the territory proposed?
I see none.
All right. And with respect to the surrounding area, and that's the area of the township that will remain unannexed within a half mile, do you see any benefit to that territory arising from the annexation?
Yes, actually, everything from water coming out, electricity. I think as other areas become developed, this can only enhance the opportunity.
Will this also bring sewer service closer to that?
Yes, it
area?
will, particularly.
And do you know if you believe it will increase the value of the surrounding area, even though it remains in the township?
We believe it will, based on other Kendall projects and the impact it has, yes.
With respect to the surrounding area, again, this area within a half mile that's remaining in the township, if the annexation is granted, do you see any detriment to the area?
No.
Now, we've kind of nibbled around the plan here. Would you take a moment and explain to the commissioners what Kendall's plan is if the annexation is granted?
Yeah, we're in the midst of a 10-year master plan, and we completed phase 1 this last year in adding 12 units to existing land. But the reality is we're kind of bound in land, and the importance of this particular purchase, this 10 acres, is critical to our expansion. As I said, when we opened as a fairly small retirement community. Kendall Retirement Communities, nonprofit, about 10 affiliates, have 35 years of history. And we've known operationally to be efficient, we needed to be larger. Larger, number one, so our fees can remain as affordable as possible. This expansion on this piece of 10 acres, just under, 24 units will take place over phase 2 and 3. It'll take about 10 months for each phase. It will bring in 12 units at a time. So a total of an additional 24 units on this just under 10 acres. It will not only enable us to enlarge as a community to be more efficient, it will also allow us to be really operationally up to date in our community spaces. With serving over 300 older adults, average age about 80 years of age, our spaces need to be maintained as top-notch as we can be. Everything from our health, rehab, and wellness clinic to updated dining facilities. To in the first phase, we added more meeting rooms, which really serve the whole larger community. Those are available to many community organizations that meet at Kendall. To those community spaces, including staff education, which we don't have today. This is critical for us to really be competitive in the market and remain fully occupied as we have for our 14 years. Very, very critical that we get these 24 units in there to maintain the high quality of services to our residents.
Do you anticipate that during the construction phase that this will result in employment in the county of Lorain that would not otherwise occur?
Yeah, that's really important right now, and we know from our residents, with residential construction down, people having difficulty selling houses, I think the jobs that will come as a result of this construction will be most important. This is phased, by the way. It's a total of $8 million between Phase 2 and 3, the additional 24 units. So it's not a small project. It is by standard of most retirement communities, but $8 million being reinvested, I think, will be good for everyone.
And that's the temporary construction jobs that might be generated. What about jobs on a
Long-term.
permanent basis?
Yeah, with 24 units, the job increase is modest. It's things like housekeeping, some additional dining. Most of the administrative overhead is already there, but it's in direct service areas, and it certainly will be helpful to Kendall in terms of strengthening our financial position as well.
Will you be able to carry out this expansion in the territory proposed to be annexed if the petition is not granted?
This will be very difficult. Our name is Kendall at Oberlin. We attract residents from over 30 states. This is not the kind of retirement community that people move within 30 or 40 miles. We are an attractive area. We are very proud to be part of Oberlin. I will say we're also very proud to have a neighbor, New Russia Township. It is very important that we have had good communication over the years. We're delighted with their park preserve being right next to us. But the name Oberlin, Kendall at Oberlin, it's important that we can say to all of our residents, particularly residents thinking about moving from distant places, that we're all under Oberlin, and it's the kind of services that Oberlin does provide. Security, police protection. They've done a fabulous job of going around our campus really 24/7. They give a sense of comfort to our residents. We have frail, older people. We have circumstances really that necessitate emergency-like services. So it's very important to us. This land is it.
And Mr. Bond, in his opening statement on behalf of New Russia Township, gave an indication that there had not been the communication that you described as a mark of your relationship with New Russia Township. Did you approach the New Russia Township trustees before this petition was ever filed?
Actually, yes. We were very interested in being upfront and open, and actually were successful in meeting with 2 of the trustees, and we were appreciative of their giving us time at Kendall to talk about the project. Frank Pashis and Dick Williams both met individually with us. I actually am in error to have missed an appointment with the 3rd trustee as a miscommunication, but our intent from the very beginning, as it's been all along in our 14 years, is always to obtain communication in a timely way and to keep that relationship solid.
And in those meetings that occurred, did anybody from the township give you an indication that you shouldn't attempt the annexation because they could provide the services to you?
Actually, we talked at length with both trustees that we met with, basically to say what we valued with Oberlin and wanted to maintain that in our continuing Kendall at Oberlin services, important to our residents. I think on principle, we were told also up front that, this is land under New Russia Township and they'd like to maintain it that way. But we did explain the services we thought we most needed from Oberlin.
Did any of the trustees indicate to you that they could provide sewer service to the territory proposed to be annexed?
Sewer's got a little bit of discussion, but we also recognized, and having had previous conversations with Oberlin, we need fire protection, for example, that is critical, and whether it be the sewers or where the water source is, all those things would need more discussion, but we did not get the sense we would be able to do it as successfully in New Russia Township.
Did you also communicate that this annexation petition was going to be filed to the city of Oberlin before it was filed?
Yes.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you. There may be some questions from the other council.
Okay.
Eric, do you wish to ask any questions? Mr. Butler? Steve?
Yes, please.
Barb, you're going to have to come back up because you...
Let me first ask you, when were those meetings that you had with the trustees?
Well, this is November 1, and I know probably early part of October, maybe late September.
Okay. So the petition for this was filed August 30th? So did you meet with the trustees after you already applied?
Yes, we did, and that was part of, wanting to be sure we had open communication, and actually got a letter of appreciation from the township, appreciating us bringing it to their attention.
Well, the letter that you got, is that the letter of September 14th in which they indicated that they would not support the annexation?
Yeah, they've basically said, and they really were open, that just on the grounds it was land in New Russia Township, that they would object by principle.
Okay. So you didn't contact anybody at the, among the trustees prior to the time the petition was first filed?
No, I have to admit, we're learning what the process would be and the time length that occurred, and it occurred to us, as we made people aware of it, they were the first to be made aware of after that meeting.
Can I ask you how long you've had this proposal under consideration?
Well, I have to tell you, we've been working to get the land for the better part of 9 years. So it's all been a process, and until we could secure a purchase agreement, which has been the most difficult challenge, that's where our focus has been.
Okay. And when did you secure the land?
Well, I would say that toward the end of the year, where things were really wrapped up, there was one little parcel that was a challenge because of needing some work done by Lorain County, but it was toward the end of the year.
Calendar year 2006?
Correct.
Okay, so you knew since, say, the first of the year that you were going to go forward with this project?
Well, again, all of these things are subject to board approval, our board.
Okay. But the first time that you contacted the trustees was after you'd already filed the petition, even though you knew about this since January?
Well, again, the idea of where we would be building, what we would be building, all were very preliminary. So the contact came in the appropriate time frame of when do we start discussing with people what are the issues, including meeting with the Oberlin, City of Oberlin, same thing.
Now, when you came to meet with the trustees, did you ask them whether or not they could provide services to this new location, or did you indicate that you'd acquired it, you were going to go forward with the annexation, and would they support the annexation?
I think we used that meeting opportunity to share information with one another, and that really was its intent. And I think there was an effort in that communication from New Russia Township to say, are you aware of that we can provide X? I use the experience of pickup services for garbage, et cetera. That's something they could do for their citizens. So there was a good exchange of information, and that's what its intent was.
Did you lead them to believe that if they could provide the services that you would withdraw your annexation?
I think we left that meeting with, we were still on gathering facts, including from the City of Oberlin. And that was important, and we had met after with the City of Oberlin again to raise some of the questions and issues. So we were in fact gathering stage.
Okay, so did you go back to the township trustees then and talk to them further about it?
Well, as I said, I think as we got closer to this particular date, we were still trying to get information, including if it should be annexed, what happens to distributed tax revenues, et cetera. So it was still fact gathering.
Okay. So do I understand then you never went back to the trustees and had another conversation with them?
There was not any position left at the end of our meetings that, now let's get together again, neither at their request or ours. We were in the process of fact gathering.
Okay. So other than leaving them with the impression that you were fact gathering, you didn't create any impression, and you didn't intend to create any impression that you intended to change your mind about going forward with the annexation?
No, I would say that we still were of the impression that would best serve our Kendall at Oberlin residents.
Okay. Now, when did you acquire the two parcels that you're actually asking to be annexed?
That was still all part of the original purchase agreement, and in the original purchase agreement, there was one parcel that needed to be determined if it was buildable. That was something that basically a law had recently changed, and how that would be determined had changed as of January. So there were some holdups, but all of the parcels were all part of the original purchase agreement with the Zebanowski family.
Okay. So now, I know you mentioned things that you were looking for in response to Mr. Keys Walker's questions. The three ones that you actually specifically mentioned were fire, police, and sewers. And let me ask you about your experience. In the time that you've owned these two parcels, did you have any problem with the fire service that was being provided while it was part of the township?
There's nothing on it to require fire service. It's land that's totally vacant. There's nothing there to really need protection today. It's what our future will need.
Okay, so there was no complaints.
No complaints. There wasn't any reason to have a concern.
How about police?
I don't know anything about the sheriff's services on that land. We have the ever-presence of Oberlin's police service.
Right, but I'm just focusing on the property that brings us here today. These two parcels that are in the township that you've had experience with the services that are being provided. You didn't have any issues with the fire or
Yeah,
police?
there's nothing there to require service.
Okay. And same thing with the sewers. You didn't have any issue with the sewers?
No need for service
Okay.
under sewers.
Now, did you ask the township trustees, how could we provide sewer service to this property if we wanted to?
We discussed the fact that this will have residential units on it, that the need for services will change, sewer being critical. This is for protection of our residents, and so how those sewers are constructed and the ability to manage services every day or in emergency situations would be critical. We have only known and experienced what we have had for 14 years, and it has been excellent.
Okay, so is it fair to say, to summarize what your position is, you're happy with Oberlin, you think that they would provide good service, but you didn't ask the township trustees one way or the other about sewer service that they may or may not be able to
Well,
provide?
I want to emphasize again the importance of this project being under one entity. Kendall at Oberlin is critical to our success in a market that doesn't come just from Lorain County.
Okay, but I don't think you really answered my question. I understand that it's important for you to tell the world that you're in Oberlin, but you didn't actually ask the trustees to address any question about whether or how they could provide sewers because you just knew you wanted to be in Oberlin. Is that fair?
Yeah, we did not elaborate in how they would do that. We had some conversation that would suggest it would be difficult, and has been difficult in past projects that they were asked to do it. With that understanding, I think we still were of the opinion Oberlin would best do that.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Now it's your turn, commissioners. If you have any questions.
My question
Commissioner Blair?
I don't believe I have any at this moment.
You sure? You're looking at notes here, that's what I was wondering.
I didn't know it was going to be my turn.
Oh, you want me to start then?
You'll go right ahead.
Okay, all right then. Yeah, I do have some comments. By the way, Kendall's a wonderful facility. I had a very good benefactor of the Lorain Palace Civic Center who lived their best stock. It's a great facility.
Thank you.
And I understand your need to be in the city just because you're Kendall of Oberlin. You're branding your
It is
organization.
our brand,
You're
absolutely.
branding your organization. I think this sort of like harkens back to our NOACA discussions about not bringing up the discussion about a JED in the middle of a project, sort of like they want to do tax revenue sharing in the middle of the Avon interchange discussion. So I applaud New Russia Township trustees for wanting to get into JED talks with the City of Oberlin, but I think it's best to probably do that after this project has gone through its phase and then sit down. So I understand your clientele out in Oberlin. It's a unique community. You get some, as you said, 30 states.
About 30 states.
Right, voting issues out there, consistency of services, and that means no harm to our county services or New Russia Township Fire Department, but consistency of services out there. So I understand that. So you're looking to go forward. This is 24 residential units. Are you going to cluster homes then, or are you going to the attached? What is the plans for this property?
Basically, it's two kind of U-shaped clusters, 12 at a time. Similar to how we have built. If you look at our landscape plan at any point, you would see that we're really continuing this design.
Okay, so you're not doing anything to alter the landscape or change the way all the looks are out there?
No, actually it will enhance. We'll be using native soil. We'll be adding some water area, again, as a feature, but actually it will enhance that land, yes.
And you said it's an $8 million investment for the
It will
build-out?
be, between the two phases, just a little over $8 million.
So based on local dollars spent and the churn we've all talked about, it could generate almost $40 million in churn dollars, so.
Yeah, we think it will be very good for the Oberlin economy
All right.
and county.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the end of my questions. Commissioner Blair?
No, I don't have any questions. Do you have any instructions for us, Jerry, procedurally?
Well, we've got a ways to go.
Okay.
There were a couple things I'd like to, and John, if you have another witness that's going to address these, so I'm going, let me know. But regarding the sewers, is there somebody else going to testify regarding the sewers?
Mr. Boyle from the city of
Okay,
Oberlin.
then I'll withhold that question. Did you have any other questions you wanted to address to this witness?
No.
Okay.
Okay,
Now you're
thank
free.
you.
All right.
Okay, just for the record, usually we have the engineer's office give a report regarding their investigation, and I kind of skipped over you. So.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Holtzman, representing the Lorain County Engineer's Office. Our really only involvement in this is we have reviewed the map and the legal description that was prepared by the applicant, and we found the legal description to be accurate. The property is contiguous to the city of Oberlin. The only issue that we raised was we felt after review of the record, there were actually 3 parcels involved in this annexation that are within that boundary that was described, and that was our only comment. And I don't know if the attorney could answer that question.
If I may address it, actually, there has been a combination of parcels since that time, so that while the legal description remains the same for the territory proposed to be annexed, we are now combined into 2 parcels.
So the 3 has become 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
But the map is accurate relative to the parcel to be annexed. And that's pretty much all we would interpose in this proceeding at this time.
Do any of the council have questions for Mr. Holtzman? Commissioners?
No.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks.
John.
Sorry about
Okay.
that.
So I can leave? I'll be
You can
across
leave.
the hall if you need me, just
Okay.
call me.
Sorry for the interruption,
No,
John.
that's quite all right. Thank you, Mr. Holtzman. Sorry to keep you. We'll call Gary Boyle from the city of Oberlin.
Morning.
Morning, Jerry.
Mr. Boyle, will you please tell the board your name and your job?
Gary Boyle, Director of Planning and Development for the City of Oberlin.
And how long have you been with the city of Oberlin?
I've been with the city since May of 1998.
And are you aware of this proposal to annex 9.9923 acres to the city?
Yes, I am.
What's the position of the city in relation to that proposal?
City Council had entertained this petition request and by ordinance had indicated that it would provide services, all city services to this property if it was annexed.
All right. And if you, hopefully you have one of these in front of you yet. If you turn to tab 5, I'll ask you to take a look at it and see if the second and third page of that is the ordinance that the city enacted.
Yes, it is.
And the city is willing to provide what services pursuant to that ordinance?
I think, as probably most people are aware, Oberlin is a full-service city. We provide a wide range of services to the community. The ordinance specifically identifies police, fire, electric, water, sewer, and refuse service.
All right. And would the city provide those services to the territory proposed to be annexed if it was not annexed?
We would We could potentially provide electrical service outside of our corporate limits. Our local electric company does do that. We have not, our council has a policy, does not provide connections to our pipe services, water and sewer, without annexation occurring. Similar refuse service is something that happens within the community. Police normally, unless there's a mutual aid issue, would only provide service within the community. We do have a fire service agreement with New Russia Township that potentially provides service, but I would note, based on discussions with our fire chief, that that contract indicates that should there be the unfortunate situation of two emergencies occurring at the same time, our fire department would respond to city locations first as its primary responsibility.
And does New Russia Township have any fire service other than the contracted service from the city of Oberlin?
I'm not aware of that.
Let's talk a little bit about police services, if we could. Does the city of Oberlin have a full-time police department?
Yes, we do.
Do you know how many officers are on the
I
department?
believe there's 17 full-time officers, 3 part-time, and an auxiliary force as well.
And that serves an area of the city of approximately what size?
Approximately 8,200 people.
All right. And the township area is served by the Lorain County Sheriff, would that be correct?
I think that's the normal policing that happens outside of incorporated areas.
Right. And the policing through the Sheriff's Department is for the unincorporated area is approximately 357 square miles in the county. You may not know the square miles.
I don't know the exact, it
Okay.
sounds like it might be that.
All
Mr.
right.
Twining could probably
All right.
confirm that for me.
As far as the garbage service, can you explain to the commissioners a little bit about the garbage service that would be provided?
The city operates both refuse and a recycling service to our residents.
And most importantly, the sewer service that's provided.
Yeah, we operate both a water and wastewater treatment facilities and distribution systems. The area that's subject to this petition is located within our facilities planning area, which the commissioners may be aware of, as established through NOACA and the EPA. And this is an area that is intended to be serviced in the future by Oberlin Sewer Services.
And does Oberlin Sewer Service have the capacity currently to service the intended use in this area?
Based on my discussions with the city engineer, it would have the capacity to provide those services.
And in terms of the actual access point for the service, would that be coming through the city territory somewhere on the east portion of the territory proposed to be annexed, or would it be coming in through Route 58, if you know?
It'd be coming through area that is now within our corporate limits within the Kendall project. Based on initial discussions, it would seem the logical extension would be from the existing utilities that are at Kendall now.
And would there be any benefit, to your knowledge, to the surrounding area outside of the territory proposed to be annexed with the extension of these city services into the territory?
I think the services that probably would come into this site would benefit this petition area. I'm not sure that they would necessarily be available through this proposed development to abutting properties,
But it does bring sewer service closer to township areas that are within the facilities planning area of the city of Oberlin.
arguably it would, and there could be, I suppose, a potential through easement arrangements to provide that kind of service to other properties should they annex in the future.
I don't have any further questions for Mr. Blunt. Thank you.
Mr. Sears?
No question.
Mr. Bond?
Let me just start on that last part that you were just talking about, the benefit to the area that's not in the annexation parcels. I want to be clear what you're saying then. I mean, you're saying that potentially there could be a benefit to other parcels, which is like the ones that I'm calling the island that's immediately adjacent, but are you saying that that service would be provided without another annexation?
No, I don't believe I said that. I think
I understand.
It would require annexation. Yeah.
So that would inevitably lead to more territory leaving the township.
I can't speak as to what future property owners may desire to do. I conceivably, I suppose.
Okay. And the only way then that the surrounding areas would be benefited would be if they annexed in.
Based on current city policy, that's the vehicle that is necessary for them to be able to connect or tie into either the city's water or sanitary sewer system.
Okay.
That's correct.
So there's no benefit to the surrounding area by this proposal then in that connection?
I can't speak as to whether there's some potential benefit because I don't know what potentially may happen in that area in the future.
And as far as what the policy of the city is as to who gets to connect up, that's set by the council?
That's correct.
So if the council decided that they wanted to provide service to an area such as this area we're talking about today, even if it was not annexed, that would be council's decision to make. Is that right?
That's a policy decision that council would have to make.
So if the township trustees struck a deal with the city council and the council agreed, then that sewer service could be provided if council so determined.
I can't speculate as to what a future agreement would be, but based on our agreement with Pittsfield Township, basically those properties are annexing in to gain sanitary or water sewer service.
Okay. Now, have you been part of any attempt to have discussions with the trustees about making a deal similar to the Pittsfield deal?
No, I haven't.
Okay. As far as you know, no one has raised that question with the trustees. Is that fair?
I'm not aware that that's happened.
Okay. Now, as far as the service that is available to the township, do I understand correctly that you said electric service is available?
I believe our electric utility has the authority under state law to be able to provide electric utility service beyond our corporate limits, and they do have customers outside of our corporate limits.
And did I understand that fire service is available?
Yeah, we have a fire service contract with New Russia Township.
Okay. Is that the same fire service that would be serving the existing Kendall facility?
That's correct, our fire department, the Oberlin Fire Department.
So no change results to Kendall that's going to be a benefit in that connection?
Well, I think I had mentioned earlier that as part of our contractual relationship with the township, should there be a situation where there's more than one emergency event occurring, I believe that contract provides that the Oberlin Fire Department would respond to city addresses before they would respond to township addresses. So I guess from that perspective, there would be a benefit to Kendall if they were within our corporate limits.
And if there was multiple emergencies, do you have mutual aid agreements where other departments are involved?
Yes, we do have mutual aid agreements.
Now, the police service that's available in the township from the sheriff, are you aware, does the sheriff's office have community offices located throughout the county?
I understand they do. I don't know firsthand what exactly they do as far as road patrols or community policing. I believe they do.
All right. And you're aware that there's one actually in this township?
I'm not personally aware. It wouldn't surprise me that there might be, though.
Okay. And how about refuse? Are you aware that the township provides that as well?
I don't have any firsthand knowledge. I'm not sure who their service provider is for that.
Okay. You're aware they have it, though?
I would believe they would. There's a rather large landfill in there.
Okay.
In their territory.
That's all.
Commissioners?
Can I ask the attorney a question?
Go ahead. see where we're, which attorney again?
Yeah, Mr. Bond. You keep referencing this is creating an island Can you point to the map and show me how this island is being created? Because it looks pretty square.
Well, my idea of the island is that this is city, this is city, this is city, this is city. And this little block in here is township.
I don't see it as an island, but okay. How many feet is that across the bottom in the yellow? Right there. 311 feet? Okay. That was my question. I didn't really see an island, so I wanted to see what you meant as an island.
Okay. This block here is what I'm calling an island.
Okay.
Commissioners,
That's
any
all.
other questions?
Mm-mm.
No, thank you very much. Mr.
Thank you.
Fuller.
John, any other?
As far as the petitioner, those are the witnesses we would intend to present.
Okay. Then you're closing as far as your evidence?
That's true. We would request the admission of the evidence in the packets and in the clerk's file on this, and with that request, we would rest.
Okay. Mr. Severs, do you have any evidence you wish to present?
No, but I would like to say a couple words before
Closing, okay. Mr. Bond?
Yes, I think we do.
Good morning, John. How you doing?
Good morning. John Powinski, New Russia Township trustee.
Just a second time. John?
I'd like...
John,
Yes, sorry.
hang on just a second. Did you have an objection to the admission of the exhibits?
No.
Okay. You have to wait for your attorney to go.
What's the position of the township with respect to this request?
Okay, now you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, John Powinski, New Russia Township. As far as the request, the annexation, we have not, as Board of Trustees, not support. We have no problem with Kendall as far as their value to the community. We think it's a great facility. They are good neighbors. And we've met there with them when we built our park next to the Kendall facility. But I think it's a policy of the city that needs to be addressed, is not only in our situation, and I'll talk countywide maybe in some of the issues as far as annexation and sewers, and I think that's the biggest issue. And I believe that you can provide the service without annexation. There are avenues to do that, which I also said in the local board, which has some things in contracts right now, even with the village of Grafton and Eaton Township. So I don't think that it's unheard of to provide service without annexation. And I think that that should be taken into every annexation hearing that comes up that has had issues. But I do believe that the property in question is kind of isolated there and gives the upper hand as any other further annexation issues that may arise through Kendall. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Have the trustees ever been presented with this as a formal application by anybody as to what services the township could or could not provide if this property stayed in the township?
No, we haven't. The communications and Barbara Thomas and I have played a lot of phone tag, and if she'd mentioned, I'm the only one trustee that she hasn't met with. And I would have hoped that they came formally to one of our meetings and presented a presentation to the trustees as a whole, and hopefully we all could have done a better job in our communication.
Thank you, that's all.
Thank you.
Hang on, John.
Sorry.
Mr. Keith Walker may have some questions for you.
Thank you. Mr. Powinski, New Russia Township does not have any sewer service that it provides to this territory. Would that be correct?
That is correct.
In fact, New Russia Township doesn't have sewer service that it provides to any of its citizens. Would that be correct?
That is correct.
Do you know where the nearest sewer line outside of those in the city of Oberlin is to this territory?
Outside there's nothing outside surrounding New Russia Township.
All right, is there any sewer line in the 24 square miles of New Russia Township that would conceivably extend to this property at some point?
No.
In terms of fire service, it is correct that fire service is contracted with the Oberlin Fire Department for New Russia Township.
Correct.
You have no fire service of your own? Would that
That's
be
correct.
And it is your understanding that first preference goes to City of Oberlin territory rather than New Russia Township territory under that contract. Would that be correct?
That is correct.
All right.
But may I expound on that, sir?
Well, I think you've answered my question.
Okay.
In terms of the police service, you have no police department in New Russia Township, do you?
No, with county sheriffs.
You rely on the county sheriff. And the county sheriff services 357 square miles of unincorporated territory in the county, including the 24 in New Russia Township.
That's probably a pretty close approximation.
Okay. And they do it by means of road patrol, and I think Mr. Bond mentioned a community policing officer.
Correct.
As well. And the community policing officer, that's one officer?
Yes.
For the 24 square miles of New Russia Township, correct?
No, we used to have, I believe there was 5 that did that position, and with the constraints that now with the budget, there are 2 community police officers with 9 townships each.
With 9 townships each, so that the community policing officer serving New Russia Township would also be serving a number of other townships?
Correct.
Do you know what those are?
No, I don't have the sheriff's division of those districts.
All right. If the sheriff's website indicates that the community policing officer for New Russia Township also serves Brownhelm, Camden, Henrietta, and Pittsfield Township, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
No.
Now, when did you learn of the consideration of annexation of this territory to the City of Oberlin?
Exact date I don't recall, but latter part of August, early September was a contact made by Barbara Thomas to me on a personal level. Request was to meet one-on-one and not as a formal trustees meeting.
And the contact was made before the petition was filed, if you know?
I can't remember the dates. I believe it may have, may not. I don't have the date off the top of my head.
Do you know if Mr. Williams and Mr. Peckish, the other 2 trustees, met with her before the petition was filed?
For Ms. Thomas's testimony today, yes.
Okay. And since that time, and since the time of the formal notice, which was sent to and received by the clerk of New Russia Township, has anyone from New Russia Township approached the City of Oberlin to see if an arrangement could be made to work this out?
No, not as formal.
Okay. Have you had territory annexed to the City of Oberlin prior to this petition?
Yes.
A couple of years ago, I think you had some territory, the Welcome Nursing Home territory.
Correct.
So you're aware as a trustee that annexation can occur?
Yes.
Did you approach the City of Oberlin to work out an annexation agreement after that annexation for the Welcome Nursing Home?
No.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, you didn't approach over the course of the last 2 years. You didn't approach after the notification by Ms. Thomas that this was an issue. You didn't approach after formally receiving notice to your clerk concerning any agreement, and you didn't do anything from that time until today to approach either the City of Oberlin or anybody at Kendall to see if an arrangement could be made for some kind of an agreement. Would that be correct testimony?
That'd be correct.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Severs.
No question.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for this witness?
Commissioner Blair, any questions? No questions from myself.
Mr. Bond, do you wish to read that? Excuse me, I'm trying to get a map here.
One that doesn't fold over, right?
We just got a county map that just kind of shows an outline of the entire area a little bit, so you get a bigger picture of it. So I'm just going to show this to the commissioners, particularly Commissioner Kukowski, who wanted to see that. Yeah. I don't remember.
Excuse me, Mr. Ennis. Since they're viewing the map, would
Yeah.
it be appropriate for council to view the map as well?
Yeah, well, let me, I was going to bring it back and maybe we can put it up on the screen.
So do we want to get another map to put on the screen, so we can have one up here and there?
Can you show this piece right here? So where's the, I don't understand where the island is at. Where is the island?
Madam Clerk, while they're going through the map, can we take a 2-minute break, 3-minute break? Are we allowed
what you
to
would
do
like
that?
to do.
Recess?
We're going to recess for 5 minutes.
That's fine, yeah. So
While
while
you guys are
work out
looking at the map.
deal,
Okay.
Mr. Ennis, please.
Just for the record, we took a look at the county map of Lorain County and just kind of tried to identify the area so that we could get a wider viewpoint of what the area is. Mr. Bond, do you have any other witnesses you wish to call?
No.
And you're resting your case at this point? Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to testify or give evidence at this point? With that, Mr. Keys Walker, do you wish to make a closing remarks?
Yes, and I'll try to be brief on this. There appears to be no dispute that the petition meets the conditions for annexation. And I have my favorite book here on these, the Commissioner's Annexation Manual. They give 7 things that you need to examine on this. If we go down that list, I think it's the simplest way for all of us to look at this particular petition. The petition, first thing, petition meets all the requirements set forth and was filed in the manner provided in 1709 or 709.02. There's been no dispute about any of that. The evidence is all before you on that. It's technical, it's boring. I'm sorry we had to run you through it, but it's there. Second, the persons who signed the petition are the owners of the real estate proposed to be annexed. Condition met. Testimony before you on that issue. Third, the number of valid signatures constituted the majority of the owners of the real estate in the territory. Again, no dispute about that. The condition has been served. Fourth, the municipality has complied with the requirement to adopt an ordinance providing for services to the territory and when the services are to be provided. That again is before you. No dispute from the township on that issue. Fifth, the territory is not unreasonably large. What you have before you on that, and that's been the subject of a little bit of dispute here. What you have, though, less than 10 acres in a 24 square mile township. And one of the other tests of unusually large is there some unusual situation created about the territory? Does it create a peninsula, an island? And there's been some allusion to a peninsula, and I think maybe my own map didn't do me a very good service, and I appreciate the commissioners dragging out the county map on this, because when you look at that county map, you will see, with respect to this area of the township, that it isn't an island or a petition. The township continues on here. This is simply an arm of the township, and the territory proposed to be annexed simply pushes that arm a little bit further back. It's not an isolation. It's not an extension out. It's not an island. There is nothing unusual about it, and there's certainly nothing that will prevent this annexation. The next thing you have to look at, on balance, the general good of the territory proposed to be annexed will be served. There's really no dispute about that. The services here, the testimony on the city services available, a full-time police department versus a very stretched sheriff's department. And with all respect to the sheriff's department, certainly I don't think anyone will dispute that point. Fire service, changing a situation. There's no fire service that isn't supplied by the city of Oberlin in New Russia Township. But moving it into the city, moving this territory into the city, ups the priority. Again, no dispute about that, an enhancement. In terms of sewers, and that's always the huge issue in these annexations, as I'm sure you know better than I. This is within the facilities planning area that NOACA has designated for the city of Oberlin, which is an important thing. But more than that, by the township's own admission, there is no ability to provide sewer service now or in the foreseeable future to this property through the township. And that's crucial here. It's crucial for this county to have this property appropriately developed, to bring jobs to the county, and to continue on with what's, I think everybody can agree, if we don't agree on anything else, can agree that Kendall at Oberlin is a fine institution that's done good things for the city of Oberlin and for the county and for New Russia Township. The utility commission conditions have been met. You've also had testimony, again, not disputed, that this will enhance the value of the territory proposed to be annexed. Looking at the detriments, no testimony about detriment to the proposed territory, no testimony about detriment to the surrounding area. Nobody has said this is going to harm the surrounding area in any way. Some testimony, and maybe it's disputed, about enhancement to the surrounding area. But taking that out of the equation, there seems to be no detriment to this situation, and there seems to be only benefit. Last thing, no street or highway divided. Again, that's clear and undisputed that that condition has been met. It's unfortunate that the township has to undergo annexation. There are things that they can do about that to prepare and plan for it. They acknowledge, I think, through their testimony, that those things haven't occurred. The natural inclination of the commissioners may be to delay and allow that to happen, but the delay in the opportunity has already taken place here. It's very crucial for the petitioner that the annexation occur in a timely manner to allow this project to go forward, to get these jobs in the county, to get this facility in the county now. And I think Commissioner Kalo's remarks during the course of the hearing, evidence and understanding of that, and probably appropriately encouraged maybe the township and the city of Oberlin to talk in the future. But this has to move forward now. The conditions have been met. It's relatively undisputed, and we would urge that the petitioners act, or that the commissioners act today on the petition and approve it. Thank you.
Mr. Severs.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'm only going to say two things. One, in regard to the sewers, if you look at our ordinance we passed, it indicates we can provide the sewers within 30 days of the completion of the annexation proceedings. Now that, if you didn't know the facts, that sounds like a pie-in-the-sky proposition, but the sewers are already there. They're in Kendall. All they have to do is build an extension, a lateral from the sewer that's there. So they're there, so we can do it within 30 days. Secondly, in regard to an annexation agreement, as I indicated earlier, the city, I believe, is more than willing to sit down with New Russia Township to discuss that matter. For whatever reason, that has not been on the agenda of the township trustees in the past, and it probably has not been a high priority for the city in the past. But I think having to go through this hearing today is going to, at least from the city standpoint, I would expect that that would move higher on the city's agenda for the future. I know the city and certainly developers, and I assume New Russia Township don't like to spend their time and your time with these type of things. If we can work out an agreement with them in the future, then, as I think the Pittsfield Township agreement has proven, it makes everybody's life a little bit easier and makes things move forward a little bit more planned, organized, and speedier. But please don't punish Kendall because we don't have an agreement yet. Thank you.
Mr. Bond?
Thank you. I'll reiterate that, unfortunately, Kendall may be an innocent party in this, in a sense. There's no objection to Kendall, per se. Obviously, they're a good citizen, and I guess that's part of the issue. Everyone would love to have Kendall in their community. And we also don't dispute all those procedural things that Mr. Keys Walker went through, so we have no objection to any of that. Under the statute, as you're aware, there has to be a balancing, and the balancing is the good of the territory before and after. And that's what brings me back to that case that I mentioned before, because that decision from that Court of Appeal said the most logical basis for comparison is with services available to the territory before annexation. And I think that's my fundamental theme here today. It seems to me that from the testimony that you heard, and maybe you want to focus on the hard testimony as opposed to the assumptions and the hearsay, because there was a lot of that in the testimony that you heard. But it seemed to me that Kendall came forward, and Kendall has had this project in mind for quite some time, and Kendall has acquired the property, as I understand it, since at least the first of the year, and knew that they were going to go forward, but were fixated on the idea we have to be part of Oberlin. So there was no analysis made comparing what do we have as a township member, what services can we get as a township member, and let's compare those to what we could get if we were annexed. And I think that was the way that it was presented to the township trustees. After the petition was filed, coming to the trustees and saying, well, we're coming, will you go along with it? Not, is there a way that you could provide the services that we need? So I don't think there has been a fair analysis of whether or not the township could provide the services. In the specific property that is the subject of this proceeding, there were three specifics that were mentioned. One was fire, one was police, one was sewers. And Kendall has agreed that there were no specific issues, in fact, with respect to any of those three as to this property, so there is no evidence on that point. And whether or not there was a way that the township could have provided those sewers by their own construction or their own means, or by making their own deal with the city of Oberlin, which probably is the most practical solution, we don't know, because they were never given that chance. So my argument to you is that we don't know what would have been available, because the township was never given that opportunity. And if they're not given that opportunity, you don't have that evidence before you, you can't make that balancing under the case that I'm mentioning. I don't think you can make the conclusion that on balance this property is going to be better, in fact, annexed than it would have been as part of the township, because you don't have the facts before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. At this point, if anybody, unless anybody has anything else, we'll close the proceeding.
Mr. Ennis, what do we do now? Close the meeting?
Well, we're closing the hearing. At this
Closing the
point, as was indicated, there are 7 factors that the Board of Commissioners needs to be considered. I think as indicated by all counsel, the first 4 factors, which are the procedural technical issues, are pretty much undisputed, as well as the 7th factor, excuse me, which has to do with the divided highway. So there appear to be only 2 issues that are in dispute. One concerns the unreasonably large issue that incorporates, excuse me, again, the island question, and then probably most significantly, number 6, the balancing question, in which first you have to determine that this serves the general good of the area that's being annexed, and then secondly, you have to determine that that benefit outweighs any detriment that would occur in the township. You have a choice. You can proceed to make a determination right now. This, as I indicated, is a quasi-judicial matter. You can go in and deliberate, and we can review that together if you wish, and then make a decision. You can have me research the case or do any law that you want. And
Do
get
we
back.
close the public hearing before we go forward with the motion? Or do we do that during the hearing, Jerry?
Well, you'll have to close the public hearing. Unless for some reason you feel you want to have further evidence, if there's some issue you feel you need to get further evidence on. And you have up to 30 days to make a decision. So you can do it right now after you close the hearing. You can deliberate, make a decision, or you can ask me to get something further, or maybe you want to think about it and make a decision within 30 days.
Any questions, Commissioner, before we close the public hearing? Make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the annexation as stated, meeting all criteria. The balance is fine, no detriment to the area, actually an improvement to the city of Oberlin and to the Kendall, the private owners.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I just want to say that I'm not a big proponent of annexation, and that's why I wanted to clarify whether there is an island out there created by this annexation, and from what I can see, I don't see that. I don't believe that the land is extremely large, or that you had mentioned whether the services that are there now are going to be better or worse. I don't believe there is any service on that property now, since it is vacant, so I am in favor of this annexation.
Comments, Commissioner Blair?
Assuming that this vote is in the affirmative, I would like to encourage both the New Russia Township trustees and the City of Oberlin to move forward on the comments that Mr. Sievers put forth, because there needs to be some kind of a development agreement so that New Russia Township doesn't experience these pains of development in the future.
I believe also, to tie into those comments, Commissioners, I spoke with the other townships, and in the past, the JET agreements are the best way to salvage township form of government, and I urge you to work towards the people you have your borders with to make sure you bring services to your constituents, and we don't have these type of hearings going on. So thank you. Can you call for the vote, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner, maybe just, if I can kind of summarize that just for the record then. With respect to item 5, based on what Commissioner Kokoski said, there's an indication that she does not feel that there is any valid island issue there with respect to that finding. With respect to item 6, from all the Commissioner's comments, there would be an indication that the city services with regard to the police, fire, and service are provided by the city, and those would not be available to the extent needed for the expansion of Kendall from the township.
Particularly the police and sewer.
Okay. Finish, Mr. Ennis?
Yes.
Can you call for the vote, please, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
While we're out here, can we, personnel summary sheet? Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
And Madam Clerk, I have 4 additional dates for the Alliance viewing. David, as to your request, November the 7th at 2:30, November the 8th at 8 p.m., November the 9th at 7:30 p.m., and November the 9th at 7:30 p.m., and November the 10th at 7 p.m. Okay?
Well done, Commissioner. Motion to move an executive session is outlined by the...
Can't we just...
Thank you. No, we have a couple of items.
Scott Saracen.
I know, but can't we adjourn before we go into executive session?
No.
We have to come back and adjourn.
Before the end
Okay.
of the regular meeting, it's just a portion of it. Like school boards go into executive session halfway through. Motion to move an executive session is outlined by the administrator and county prosecutor.
And the commissioner.
And the commissioner.
I'll second.
Okay.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Thank you.
If you did that, it would be illegal.
Right.
Oh.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.